Hi, folks. Cliff from Talking Pondo here. I want to give you a quick warning about the upcoming episode. We do talk about the movie in quite a bit of detail, plot points, and so on, so there will be spoilers. And just fair warning, there is some adult language every now and then, so I just want to give you a heads up on that. Also, you can watch our latest film trilogy, Writing Frenzy, Revenge of Zoe, and The Love Song of William H. Shaw. Those are available on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Fossum, Hoopla, and Zumo. So get out there and give them a watch. I hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening.
I don't like the choices. I don't like the dialogue. The whole thing was just really hard for me to sit through. I just don't mesh with this guy. You know, it's kind of like if Kevin Smith is like Pearl Jam of Mumblecore and Boondock Saints is like the Creed, then this guy's like Stained to me. Where it's like you photocopied enough and it's like, yeah, you're about that far down on the line of this, you know. You got your fans, but I ain't one of them. Welcome to Season 3 of Talking Pondo. Talking Pondo is a podcast where Cliff and Marty give each other a film to watch and talk about them in detail. Some episodes will include a special guest.
All right, Marty, that's us again.
Talking Pondo.
That's right. Talking Pondo, episode 6 of season 3.
Yeah. Coming to you once again, sandwiched in between some Talking with Guests episodes. This week, it's Marty and Cliff once again. No guest. You'll get a guest next time. I think that's the lineup anyway. We'll leave that as a surprise for you.
Yeah.
Which really allows us to finagle the schedule if we need to. You know, if we go ahead and tell you who it's going to be, then we're locked into it.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
So, yeah, we're here. We're giving our thoughts on movies once again.
Got a couple of interesting ones this week, I think.
Yeah, to say the least. It was very difficult to try to discern the commonality between these two movies. I was like, oh man, is this finally the week where I can't figure out how these two, intersect with each other? And then thinking about it, because of that original Daredevil movie, led me to the conclusion that, oh yeah, both of these writers are kind of mumblecore. You got the writer of the 4:30 movie, which you almost got me to say the 4:20 movie because you said that before we were recording.
Well, I did my best.
Written by Kevin Smith, who is one of the, I guess you would say, originators of mumblecore, who was at one time called himself a cross between David Mamet and Howard Stern. I remember that being one of his early.
That's an excellent way to describe him, in my
way back with Clerks. And then we have the other movie in Bruges, Martin, I forget his last name, but he's more of like towards the tail end. I mean, it's like 2008, and it's like, hi, I'm showing up with the mumblecore movie. And so you get this other end of the spectrum, but I look at him and he feels more like the David Mamet of mumblecore because he's a playwright and he's edgy.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, today's movies are the 4:30 movie and in Bruges. So we have one movie that's one of the most, to me, feels like the most accurate representations of the mid to late 80s as far as an aesthetic goes, to the point where it can be downright awkward, but the awkward is true. And then we have another movie that has no sincerity whatsoever in it. So that's the two ends of the spectrum here. So it's very nice dichotomy here. So which one would you like to...
Well, to be fair, we're just real quickly on mumblecore. I think we're talking about like, I think mumblecore didn't even start until like 2002.
Well, that's when they finally figured out a name for it.
Yeah, right? I think this dude is definitely in that genre in 2000. This is in Bruges in particular is in 2009. He's definitely in that genre. But I feel like Smith was in a different genre that sort of influenced mumblecore, like Linklater. I wouldn't necessarily call him mumblecore. I think we have on the show before, but looking at it and looking at the dates, I think maybe he's more like it's more like Iggy Pop is punk because he kind of helped the genre get started than he is actually punk. You know what I mean? I don't know. But anyways, splitting hairs. But yeah, but I do think that they're heavily that in Bruges in particular, heavily influenced by mumblecore, and is for sure, or influenced at least by the people who influenced mumblecore for sure.
He's got that little touch of Scorsese in there too. He's like Scorsese, Tarantino, Smith kind of mixture. That guy.
I thought he was more like Guy Ritchie without the camera fireworks.
Well, that too, yeah.
But
I say he's to me he's like easily the least of all of those. Like even watching Train Spotting or Danny Boyle or the Guy Ritchie, and it's like, oh, okay, and then he's coming along after and going, and it's like, oh, but you're like right at the tail end before they even stop making stuff like this. But what do I know? He keeps getting Oscar nominations for screenwriting, so.
All right, so I guess we'll start with In Bruges.
We can, I guess. In Bruges. Merry Christmas! I swear Cliff is doing this on purpose. I know he can't possibly be because it's just too crazy. But
I think what's happening is that we're discovering how many times, how often Christmas pops up in movies more than it is. I'm not subconsciously or consciously picking movies with Christmas in them. I think it just so happens that Christmas pops up a lot in movies because it's an important time of year.
It does. I mean, even we wrote an early script that was never produced about a bunch of people going to run a robbery on Christmas. You know, and we also had another script that was very undeveloped about one hitman assigned to kill another hitman. Well, you know. We made Marijuanos in like 2002, and then here comes this guy's version of Marijuanos in 2008, which I say it's a basic, we're coming up with that basic kind of structure to then throw a bunch of edginess on top of it. Everybody trying to be their own version of Tarantino.
Well, I think Marijuanos and In Bruges are pretty far apart, but let me read.
As I like to call it, Of Mice and Hitmen.
After a job gone wrong, Hitman Ray and his partner await orders from the ruthless boss in Bruges, Belgium, the last place in the world Ray wants to be. This is In Bruges from 2008, rated R, hour and 47 minutes long. Written and directed by Martin McDonough, stars Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. Your storyline. Let's see here. London-based hitmen Ray and Ken are told by their boss Harry Waters to lie low in Bruges, Belgium for up to 2 weeks following their latest hit, which resulted in the death of an innocent bystander. Harry will be in touch for further instructions. While they wait for Harry's call, Ken, following Harry's advice, takes in the sights of the medieval city with great appreciation. But the charms of Bruges are lost on the simpler Ray, who is already despondent over the innocent death, especially as it was his first job. Things change for Ray when he meets Chloe, part of a film crew shooting a movie starring an American dwarf named Jimmy. When Harry's instructions arrive, Ken, for whom the job is directed, isn't sure if he can carry out the new job, especially as he gained a new appreciation of life from his stay in the fairy tale Bruges. While Ken waits for the inevitable arrival into Bruges of an angry Harry who feels he must clean up matters on his own, Ray is dealing with his own problems, not only with Harry, but with a Canadian couple and a half-blind thief named Eric. Ray hopes he can count on both Chloe and Ken to help him carve out a new life for himself, but in the end, Harry, involved in an accident with Jimmy, may have to keep to his own principles. That's pretty close.
Pretty close. I mean, look, I know we read these things every week. I hope you didn't see the movie. I should say, I hope you watched the movie already, because, boy, that lays out all sorts of shit you're not supposed to know until you discover it as you go along. And they're nonchalantly dropping everything from Canadian to, it was his first thing that went wrong. My God, you don't discover that until pretty deep into the movie. But I love how these synopses basically drop us about an hour into the movie on average. It's like, right. Oh my God, do not read these synopses if you haven't seen these movies first. Unless you don't mind that type of stuff, or you can get out of your head.
We do warn there are spoilers.
We do warn. Yes, there will be spoilers.
So right away, for me, two really heavyweight actors, like two guys who can really carry scenes if they want to. Um, I've been a fan of Brendan Gleeson since Braveheart. I think he's probably the best part of The Kingdom. I don't know if you've seen The Kingdom, but he plays just such an evil bastard in The Kingdom. It's not even funny. But anyway, so and Ralph Fiennes is pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm glad that the shaky cam of its time started to subside towards the first few minutes of the movie. Because for a bit there, I thought,
yeah,
I'm going to have trouble watching this. But it stopped. It stopped being as shaky. It's no like 28 days later or something like that where it's like, oh my God, you're triggering my motion sickness. I'm glad we got away from that as films kept progressing.
I mean, I like the look of the film. I think it's crisp and pretty straightforward. It's got good composition. I mentioned earlier, it feels like Guy Ritchie without all the flashy camera tricks and techniques, but just solid, good. I like the coloring of the film. I think Bruges looks pretty good in the background and as they're moving around it. The actors look good. Everything looks good. I mean, there's nothing in the movie to detract. It's like, oh, this would be taking away from my overall enjoyment. I love how he looks at Brendan Gleeson like he's crazy when he tells him he likes sightseeing when they're on the boat. He's like, do you actually like this stuff? And he's like, yeah. I find it fascinating. Like that's a, church from the 12th century. And he's just like, Jesus, this is the fucking worst.
I mean, it's decent enough of a story structure, but there was just some stuff that's layered on top of it and it's a better movie than the Three Billboards movie, which is the same director, and I really didn't like that one, but this one I at least liked a little bit more. But it just feels like it really thinks it's super clever, but it's kind of not. And it kind of, to me anyway, and at least it reflects that way in itself, where it's like, that was just the cocaine talking. That just feels like how the whole movie is like somebody blathering on coke, and then you get to the end of it and you go, oh, there really wasn't much to it. You were just high on coke.
I mean, I found Ray to be a kind of a fucking goofball wacko of a character. I think the script's well written. I think Ray's fascination with little people is fucking both weird and kind of funny. Like how he's immediately like, holy shit, they're making a film with midgets. Like he immediately runs towards that and even ends up sneaking onto the set because he's so like has to friggin' find out what's going on and runs into this Belgian girl who he ends up getting into these ridiculous capers with. It feels like it does have that, like you said, that Pulp Fiction sort of like 2 Days in the Valley sort of running into different scenarios and out of different scenarios type of thing, for sure. For sure.
Just similar to Go or something like that.
But like Go, yes, like Go. I appreciate the violence in the movie for the first part. I'll say this. Let me say this. Most of my comments are going to be about the first hour of this movie, or about the first hour and 10 minutes of this movie, because I have a completely different set of comments for the last 30 minutes. So for the first hour and 10 minutes of this movie, everything is pretty much working for me. Like I like Ray and what's his name in Belgium. I like this weird friendship that they have and this push pull that they have. I like that Ray's annoyed by the city. I like that Brendan Gleeson's character really is enjoying where they are. And then he has these strange antics and these strange run-ins with the little person and the girl and her boyfriend trying to rob him and him blinding him. I find all that kind of funny and sort of very Guy Ritchie and very of the time, especially of those types of movies. Don't have a problem with any of that. And then it hits about the 110 mark and Ralph Fiennes shows up and the whole thing just starts to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
Like it starts to fall apart. Like he sort of writes himself into a corner and can't figure out how to write himself out of it.
Yeah, when he's about to kill himself, right? And then
when he's about to kill himself, it's like if Ray kills himself, then the story's over.
How do you write yourself out of this corner? We got like
how do you write yourself out of the character? And what he does is he saves Ray, puts Ray on a train. Now I do like the fact that there's consequences in the movie. Like he punches this Canadian dude who's mouthy to him in the restaurant over the smoking, and then the Canadian dude's the one that gets him dragged back to Bruges and kind of blows up uh, Pete's whole plan of saving Ray and getting him out of the situation and paying for the debt himself, right? Because it looked like had Ray not shown back up, Ralph Fiennes and him go up to the tower, he shoots him in the leg or whatever, and then that's probably it. That's probably going to be the end of it. But then we see Ray's come back, and it's like, he immediately shoots him, like immediately, because he wants to go kill Ray. So, and then, him climbing up to the top of the tower and jumping off and that whole thing, that's where it started to just really fall apart for me.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, now we're doing it for spectacle and for shock. And that's where it started to lose me. But I really enjoyed the first hour of this fucking movie. I thought it was weird and it was funny.
The better part.
And it sort of roamed back and forth and did some fun. Like, I love how the dwarf is an absolute fucking race. He gets all coked up and he's just talking about there's going to be a race war and it's going to be, black people against everybody. And later on they run into him and he's just so like, it was cocaine talking. Anyway. Yeah. I do, again, I think Colin Farrell's a good actor. I think Brendan Gleeson are good actors. And they had some stuff to work with in here, but the story just falls apart. It just falls apart.
I think it's because it's supposed to be a dark comedy, but it's another one of those where it's like the tone just, for me, it doesn't hit right. It tries to be poignant and then it tries to be funny. And then Ray Fiennes shows up and then it gets all crazy. And meanwhile, I'm just thinking, does this writer like actually know other humans? Because like this doesn't, it almost feels like AI generated the script based off of all those other mumblecore people. Because it's like, I don't understand their decision-making process. The way they talk to each other feels artificial. It just was a really kind of a painful slog for me.
Nah, I didn't have that problem. I thought that there was some pretty great dialogue in it. It's Jesus's fucking blood, isn't it? Of course you don't have to. When he's like, I'm going to go up and touch the blood. Do you want to go with me? He's like, do I have to? He's like, it's Jesus's fucking blood. Of course you don't have to. And I'm just thinking, these two are fucking, how are these two even friends? Mm-hmm. But they do seem to kind of like each other and they do seem to care for each other. My arse, let's go. They're filming midgets. The dude's just fascinated with that shit. I think my favorite line was, "What's a 50-year-old lollipop man doing knowing karate?" Some wild shit. And in particular, when he karate chops the dwarf and the dwarf goes down and they're all coked up, I fucking laughed. I laughed so out loud. I just could not stop laughing at that for some reason. It was very funny to me. It wasn't a fairy tale movie, much like they kept saying, where they were like, I've come to like Bruges. It's like a fucking fairy tale, The movie definitely wasn't a fairy tale, because you get to that minute 10 mark and he jumps off the tower and the whole movie just kind of falls apart. It really, really falls apart.
Yeah, Ray Fiennes almost seemed like he didn't know why he was in the movie. His character, and it's just like the only person who made any sense was the woman who said, "Why don't you just both go home?" No, I'm going to run out here and I'm going to start swimming and then you get to run for me and shoot. I'm like, nobody actually talks like this. Oh, this is a dark comedy. Oh, well, the tone is confusing me once again. Yeah. Still better than his Three Billboards movie, which also has a dwarf fascination in it. He has Dinklage in that.
Maybe it's the writer.
Yeah. People write about the same stuff over and over again,
One of the things that I like about the movie is that, for the most part, it does a lot with very little. It's a movie that's just set in the city. It really doesn't do much other than there's just a lot of dialogue, and it's set in a few different locations for the most part. But up until, again, about the hour mark, It's just him and this dude moving around in the city, and they have
Mm-hmm.
these little small. Sometimes it's sightseeing. Sometimes it's meeting the girl for dinner. Sometimes it's a party. But for the most part, it's just pretty a lot of stretching of dialogue and a lot of doing that instead of events. It's not event
Well, he's
driven,
a
right?
playwright, right? He comes from the stage, so.
And I like it. I think and I think he holds that up. His dialogue and what he's doing, he builds a lot. I like the thing that like the consequences in the film that have weight. Like the girl leads to the crazy drug night, which leads to the fight with the Canadians, which leads to him being dragged back to Bruges. He shoots the priest, but he does it in a kind of casual manner, and then ends up killing the kid, which sends him to Bruges. It's definitely a film of consequences and sort of tumbling dominoes. And not in a mousetrapish way, like you've sort of complained about other movies, which I sometimes agree with and sometimes haven't. But this feels well written enough that you can't see the mousetrap being worked.
Oh yeah, I don't
At
think it's
least
a
up until
bad
about an
movie.
hour and
It's just
10 minutes.
not for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we definitely watched worse movies than this.
Yeah, I don't think it's a great movie,
No.
but I don't think it's a bad movie. I do like the script. Ken's death is super violent and sad. Apparently, this was a blacklist script. It was a favorited script on the blacklist back in like 2006, 7, or something like that, and eventually got picked up and made.
That does make sense that it's a few years older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, in the end, it's a dark movie. It's funny, sure, but no one's getting out alive. Like you start to realize at the end, be like, oh,
Well,
this is
maybe.
light,
Maybe the
lot
one guy
darker.
who should have died actually lives, we don't
Yeah.
know. I kept thinking it was going to be like Menace to Society and he was going to suddenly say, but then I died. And then the credits roll,
Mm-hmm.
but he doesn't say that, right? So maybe he has to live when everybody else got killed.
I
It's
mean,
ambiguous though, right? You don't really know.
so Ralph Fiennes accidentally kills the dwarf. He thinks it's a kid because he's dressed up as in the Harry Potter stuff. So he kills
Mhm.
himself,
It mirrors
right?
the other one.
Which it's just it all falls apart. Like it
Yeah,
becomes almost like a Deus Ex Machina. Then a resolution of the story. You know what I mean?
right. And so to me, it's just like this. It, it's the what is it the what is the word I'm looking for, the when you add it all up, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to
In
that
the
point.
sum of all of its parts, you mean?
Yeah, it's like it's just, did that enhance a story or were you just trying to be edgy? And then it makes all the other stuff that felt like it was there to enhance the story feel like it was just there to be edgy too. And then you go, is there something about humanity that this guy
I don't.
doesn't understand?
I don't feel it was trying to be edgy. I don't feel
Oh my
like. I mean,
god, this was the
I don't
most edgy thing as I've ever seen.
I don't feel it was trying to be edgy. I feel like it fell apart. Like I said, he wrote himself into a corner.
Well, that
Like
too.
edgy to me is like Go. Go is trying to be edgy. Go is trying to
Yeah.
be hip and now and edgy,
Hmm.
and that type of movie. I don't get that feeling from this. I mean,
Yeah, this one
SLC
wanders
Punk
a
was
little
kind
bit
of
more.
trying to be edgy. This is kind of like it's not a character study, but it's a weird. I don't know. He really had me for the first hour and a half. Or for the first hour and 10. Like this is a great study in how to fuck up two good acts of a movie. Like if you want to know how not to fuck up your script, don't do this.
Hmm.
Because you think he's ratcheting it up, but he's not. He's sort of just moving pieces off the board to get to the end.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why I call it Of Mice and Hitmen.
That's pretty good.
But
I
also,
can.
this is why I compare it to Marijuanos and some of our other scripts that were of the same ilk that were unproduced, because you get to that point where they've gotten to a certain place, they've crossed the border or whatever. Well, now what? We've written ourselves into a corner. What do you do for that last half hour?
Yeah.
And we probably don't do any better of a job either, I'm saying, but
Oh, I think we do probably a worse. I mean, but this is
But to
for a
me, it's more of that first
$50 million
timer
movie. This
kind
was
of,
pretty
yeah.
rough.
And yet it got nominated for best screenplay. So
I like the writing. I like the screenplay
oh,
writing. I feel like it was pretty well written. I didn't
yeah,
have
I
a problem with
really don't like his dialogue. And
that.
there's some edit timing in it that I'm just like, oh, it was really hard for me to sit through. But yet easier than Three Billboards. I preferred
I
that one.
was again. I was with it until an hour and 10. And then it was just like, ah, fuck. Not because Ken dies, but because he dies in such a way that, and the setup is like, oh, this is getting, and then after that, it gets kind of ridiculous. So Ken doesn't really die for any reason, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, it just the whole killing of the dwarf and blowing his own head off. It was just like, you
Mm-hmm.
really should
See,
have
it's
thought of some
funny
other way to
ways,
do
yeah.
this. There had to have been some other way to go about this that was also still dramatic and exciting. But
Mm-hmm.
what do I know? But again, but I would say again, I would probably watch it again for the first hour because I really like that first hour. But I wouldn't. I'd get to the last half hour and be like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch it again, and I wouldn't give it to somebody else to watch either.
I 2.5 stars is what I would give it.
I give it 1.5. Yeah, I was bordering on the 2, which is probably where it objectively goes, because there's nothing technically wrong with it. I just don't like it. I don't like the choices. I don't like the dialogue. The whole thing was just really hard for me to sit through. I just don't mesh with this guy. It's kind of like if Kevin Smith is like Pearl Jam of Mumblecore and Boondock Saints is like the Creed, then this guy's like Stained to me. Where it's like you photocopied enough and it's like, yeah, you're about that far down on the line of this, You got your fans, but I ain't one of them. But I'm still curious about the Banshees movie, though, because everybody says that one is a lot different. And you can't criticize somebody for their first movie or second movie too much, because those are kind of like term papers in a way. You're getting your footing going. You're getting started as a filmmaker. So I'm still curious to see what else this guy's going to put out. But I did not care for this one very much. But I forgot to say something before we started doing the episode. We had viewer mail again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one goes all the way back to our Breaking Away episode, strangely enough. A couple of days ago, I got a response to that episode where this person said, his name is Steve Bassford, and he says, I wrote a book about this movie. And this guy just wrote a book about Breaking Away, and he put it out. And if we think about it, we'll put a link in the show notes or whatever. I don't know, but maybe we'll even ask him if he wants to come on the show, because you never know. That might be the way that some of these things start. But I was like, look at that. There's that Breaking Away once again.
Wow.
Making waves. So people really do listen out there. It's crazy.
Well, that's great. Well, first off, that's interesting. I may have to actually read this book. And secondly, I can see why he'd write a book about Breaking Away. It's a movie that sticks with you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really does kind of stick with you. You know, it's doing a lot more than just 4 kids on a bicycle trying to win a bicycle race. There's a lot to it, in my opinion. That's why I think it's so poignant. So that's cool. Well, thanks for writing in, Steve. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Fun.
It's always a surprise. I keep thinking, oh, that's it for the viewer mail. Then here comes another one, And I like that movie a lot too. We've watched so many movies for the show, and a lot of them I've forgotten about. But that one I still think about from time to time. It is a good movie.
I like it quite a bit. It's poignant without being kind of feel good.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like you need to take a shower or wash all that feel good off after you watch it.
All right.
But yet it still achieves those same emotions.
Right. Oh, my last thing about In Bruges is that's another one you can add to morbid movies that have Christmas decorations in them. That's a pretty dark one to watch on Christmas, right?
Isn't In Bruges also the where we get the famous meme of Colin Farrell shrugging? Isn't that? Isn't that?
Oh, I'm not sure. Probably.
I think it
It's
might
timed
be.
about right for that early meme culture.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Then you tend to get movies like, what is it, like a El Royale, or it's
Bad
interesting to
Time at
see.
the El Royale.
It's interesting to see how the Tarantino pastiche keeps morphing throughout the years as more filmmakers come up and do their oddball thing with it. I think I liked In Bruges more than that Royale movie, if I'm thinking right. Uh, but it leads us to this next movie, the 4:30 movie. We never do things nice and easy around here. We always come in at the strange side door. Well, there's definitely side doors that were stranger we could have come in on Kevin Smith's career, but instead we started with his 15th movie. 15. Remember when he just had 5 movies?
I do.
And it
Yeah.
seemed like that was forever, just the 5.
Yeah.
But then a second 5 happened.
Watched him over and over again.
What was that second 5? It was Jersey Girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 6. Yeah. That's kind of like his version of Always, I think, looking back. Because it was like, I'm trying to figure out how to be more dramatic and have it work. And it kind of works in that one, but it takes him through the rest of his weird stages and up through.
Well, Kevin makes 2 types of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 3. Kevin makes 3 types of movies. He makes the Clerks movie, he makes the Jay and Silent Bob movie, or he makes this earnest type of picture that's very personal to him.
Mm-hmm.
Zack and Miri,
Chasing Amy.
No, Chasing Amy I don't even count, but Zack and Miri I count. Jersey Girl I definitely count. 4:30 movie I definitely count.
Mm-hmm.
Those to me are movies. Those are his earnest movies. Tusk also, Red State. And I don't mean earnest like trying to be nice or whatever. I mean I'm being earnest and just trying to make an original movie.
Yeah.
Right. He's not pulling from his own universe. He's not pulling from current characters. He's not furthering his own IP. Mm. He's just making a movie. Mm-hmm. Right. And so he's made about 5 of those, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The ones that are just that there is no Jay and Silent Bob. There is no Clerks. There's no nothing. It's just Jersey Girl, Red State, Tusk. Mm-hmm. Those movies are they stand alone in their own strange little universe. Yoga Hosers you could kind of call, yeah, I guess.
Then he goes back.
I still feel like that's kind of living in a View Askew universe just a little bit.
And yet it's the sequel to Tusk.
True.
But I know what you mean, though. It feels more removed.
Yeah. And so this is kind of his most latest attempt at that.
Yeah, where he finally goes back to the 80s. He goes to a decade that he's never really told a story about before. He's going before his other stories. And so now we're getting a story about the people he knew before Jay or Walt and Bry. And the reason he became a filmmaker in the first place, kind of. People called it Kevin Smith's The Fablemans. I think it's just because it came out around the same time. I mean, there's a few kind of things. But anyways, before we go too much further into it, what is the 4:30 movie?
4:30 movie. Rated R from 2024, hour and 27 minutes long. A group of teens in the 1980s spend the day theater hopping. Let me just see here. Storyline. Writer-director Kevin Smith presents his most personal film to date with this coming-of-age story set in the summer of 1986 that follows 3 16-year-old friends who spend their Saturdays sneaking into movies at the local Cineplex. When one of the guys invites the girl of his dreams to see an R-rated film, all hilarity breaks loose as a self-important theater manager, played by Ken Jeong, and teen rivalries interfere with his best laid plans. Justin Long, Rosario Dawson, Jason Biggs, and more contributed outrageous characters to this poignant comic Valentine to moviegoing and the youth of the 80s.
So that was more of what the vibe of it is rather than a beat by beat spoil the entire movie breakdown.
Yeah, well, yeah, so it's basically just, it's about a kid who has 3 best friends and he calls a girl and he asks her out. She works at a Chinese food restaurant, and he calls a Chinese food restaurant and he's joking with her. And he turns out that last summer before they had made out in the pool together, and he almost got to touch her boobies, and he didn't because he was trying to be a gentleman. And then he never called her because for whatever reason. And now he's calling her, trying to ask her out to go to the movies. He's going to go. He and his friends are going to go to the theater, and they're going to go. Their plan is to go all day, the three of them together, and theater hop and see the Beaver movie, what is it, the
Dental School
movie, the Dental School movie, and then this other movie called oh my goodness, what's it called?
It's it's
Blix something.
It's something lick, right? It's a joke in the name, Butt Lick or Butt Click.
Yeah, Bucks Licks or something. Bucklick. Yeah. And it's a private. It's kind of like Fletch, I guess. It's his version of he's parodying on Fletch.
That makes sense. That's one of the things I like about, as an aside, is even though it's set in '86, he encompasses all of the '80s into it. They're watching a movie that's kind of like a Flash Gordon, and that's the early '80s, and then going all the way through the rest of the type of stuff that you would see all the way up through
Dental School is definitely a type of like that's going to be like a titty movie. That's why they're rated R and you can't get in it.
Talking about Batman movie, nobody's going to pay to see that, so he's referencing all the way up to the end of the decade, and it would be boiling right there. But anyways, as you were saying,
well, so basically that's the plot. He calls the girl, she agrees to go. She can't meet him for the 2:00, so she agrees to meet him for the 4:30 movie. There's your title. And then of course one of his good friends doesn't care, and his other good friend is very offended by the whole situation and pretty pissed off about it. And that's the dude who's all, the super sly guy with all the ladies, and he's pissed because she's going to ruin their bro day together, which doesn't make any sense because the minute they get to the theater, he meets some girl and schmoozes with her,
but you can't.
Takes her back to the theater to have sex with her. Yeah.
It's like in Bruges, you can kill me, but I can't kill myself. That ain't fair. It's kind of like this movie's version of that. It's like, hey, that's a double standard there. And then what does the guy do? He jumps off the thing. He killed himself anyways. Hey, man, I thought you were all religious. Maybe that movie's deeper than I give it credit.
See?
That's why we talk about it.
He really pulls out all the stops on this one early on, like camera moves, soundtrack. He's really kind of going for it. You can tell it's real personal for him. He's swinging for the fences. Not sure if movie bacon is a genius or an insane idea. I guess history's going to have to decide that one.
Like, we personally didn't know the kid who took bacon to the movies, but we knew kids that did shit like that, right? Like, the first time I watched it, I was a little cynical, like, nobody talked like that, blah, blah, blah. And the second time I watched it, I go, no, they're talking about stuff that's new then. So they weren't dropping pop culture references like we do nowadays. We were just talking about what was new or current at the time because that's what was real. And I remember that fucking rat-tailed kid and that type of look. And I tried to block some of that out of my memory because it's awkward and it's weird, like some of the other parts of this movie, or some people might go, this movie isn't good because it's weird and it's strange. Aha, but that's what the 80s really were. And to me, it really captures some of that fucking mid-80s strangeness. Like that, this 1989 for us, like that first year before we started doing TV shows and shit. That kind of like, I mean, that's right there.
This feels like the 90s to me.
It's forward leaning too,
It doesn't feel like the 80s. I mean, it does a great job of referencing the 80s, but no one said real shit in the 80s. No one ever said that's some real shit in the 80s. Never fucking.
Well, there's probably some stuff like that, but I mean,
overall, there's some stuff that snuck in there, but it doesn't
6, but it feels more like 88, 89.
It feels like it feels like we're out of the 80s. Like we've moved into like 91, 92, 93 territory. It doesn't feel like the 80s to me. That's one of my notes. Is it doesn't feel like the 80s.
Wow, this is feels more like the 80s than almost anything else I've ever seen.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's
I
not
mean,
shot in the 80s. Yeah.
so many. I mean, so many giveaways. Like the minute you walk into that cinema is a '90s cinema. Like the '80s cinemas. None of them had
Hmm.
that lighting scheme. None of them had the chairs like that. That is not an '80s theater. It's a '90s theater. And since we spend so much time in it, it really it tends to date everything around it as kind of '90s.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, they only
so
have so much resources. It's kind of like CBGB. You kind of have to give them a
it
mulligan on some of
really,
that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
it will. But and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it doesn't read the '80s to me. I
Hmm.
still like. I still liked it as a backdrop for the film. Like I
See, to
still,
me, things like Striper back patch make up for the non 80s theater.
I,
It's just things like that
yes,
that
I
are
mean,
like that's more on the nose than a lot of movies that try to do 80s.
but to me, that's where what I'm saying. It's like he does a great job referencing the '80s. Like he remembers the fucking '80s for sure. Striper backpatch like a motherfucker, and the whole conversation about like, no, not Satan horns. Like that's bad. Like we want heavens where it fucking rules, dude.
That's what
And I'll
liked it
see
more the
you in
second
heaven.
time I watched it.
Like
Yeah.
all that shit is like I remember that kid in school.
Hmm.
That fucking kid who literally told me I went to a Striper concert and my mom won't let me wear my t-shirt because it says "to hell with the devil" on it, and she doesn't understand that that's actually good. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks, bro.
Well, one
So
thing we can agree on is he's got elements of the past in there, right? He's
that's what I'm
got
saying. He references
feeling
like
of the two decades,
his
kind of.
pop culture references are spot on. His references of the past are spot on, but it's just not. He needed to spend more money to really capture a true '80s look. But
Well,
it's
yeah,
close.
period pieces are always hard.
Yeah, it's not a. Then that's the thing. It's not a period piece because
Yeah.
of that, but it's definitely
It had a
you know
vibe that reminded me
it
of that time.
vibes '80s. Sure, yeah, sure.
And he doesn't reference any movies that haven't come out yet, unless it's like Batman and they're talking about it hasn't come out yet. Every reference is 86 or back. It's either like a War Games or.
I like my favorite line early on is Sister Sugar Walls is a fucking hilarious trailer, and I Got Something for Your Poor Box is probably my favorite line in the movie.
Right, these are the type of movies
I
that were
just
still
like,
coming
dude,
out in '86, like
what?
to the theater,
Well,
thanks to Canon and stuff.
I watched this with the wife, and I was like, that's Angel and Avenging Angel. That's what that
Right?
references for
Mm-hmm.
sure, for sure. Um, I can't talk about my dead ghost siblings, okay, Ma? Like I like the whole bit about the cutting in for the
Mm-hmm.
phone. That's really funny.
You can tell
And
they've
my
had
mom
that
used to do that
conversation.
exact thing where my mom would go, you could die or I could die, and then how would you feel? I'm just like, oh my god, dude.
Mm-hmm. No cell
Okay, so
phone.
all mothers did that. Good to know.
This is the first time I ever liked Ken Jeong. I thought he was really funny in this, and I've never cared for him before in anything. I always thought he was obnoxious, and this one was like he knows he's in the Kevin Smith movie, and he's just reveling in it. And he hates
Well,
those fucking kids, so it was pretty. Pretty
he's really eating it up. He's hit or miss for me. Sometimes
mm-hmm.
he's in, sometimes he's great. Other times, yeah, I just want to strangle him.
The pork chops and applesauce.
I enjoy how well Kevin uses the cameos. They just keep popping up throughout the
Right.
movie. He does some things like the night some references that are now kind of slip into the dialogue, but more than anything, one of the things that annoy me is that she keeps saying, "You sure know about a lot of movies and TV." And it's like, we get it. We get it. Yes, he knows a lot about movies and TV. And yes, I was that person too, but
yeah, we're 14.
Saying it that much in the film is just like, okay, we get it. He knows a lot about movies and TV.
It's an hour and 17 minutes before the credits start rolling. It's very nice and compact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First time I watched it, I didn't realize how quick the pacing was. Like, it's like, oh shit, we're done. Then we have the bonus scene.
It plays longer than an hour than what it is to me. It seemed like, I think what's the time on 127? It seemed like 135.
So he has 10-minute credit roll, but he's got bloopers and extra scenes in there. So
Yeah, that sit at the end was great. I kind of enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, so it all wraps around so you realize, oh, as if we didn't know already, that's a version of him.
Hmm. Yeah, at
I'm
the
gonna
end
go
where he
read
goes
all
to
that other
play at the
stuff.
quick stop. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Like,
Of course,
what
he
was
has to
it?
get he has to get his Star Wars digs in there.
Right?
It's not a Kevin Smith movie if he doesn't get a dig at Star Wars.
Is that Method Man working at a place called Moby's? There's like little things in there like that. It's
Yeah.
nice that he's been through so many ups and downs in his career, and I guess he stopped smoking so much weed, and he had that heart attack, and then
Mhm.
got in better shape, and he got older, and now it's like, okay, here we are at movie 15, and I feel like now we're back to something here. Like, it's Clerks 3 was just so depressing, and then things like Yoga Hosers and Tusk they're challenging watches to say the least. And Reboot is fun, but this one felt like a nice breath of fresh air. Like, it's like this is yet a conglomeration of everything that he's done, and he's done a lot more than TV. He's done, I mean, the movies, he's done TV work and everything else, and it feels like all that experience allows for him to be able to tell this simple yet kind of rich story.
I think he hits all of his notes, like all of his
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Smith notes with his goofy dialogue, his Hollywood commentary, his Star Wars, and his pop culture references. Like it's all there. If you like a Kevin Smith movie, he's gonna deliver what he's gonna on that. Um, but it tends to deflate a little for me in the third act. The puppy love gets a bit much, especially once they
Oh,
get
it's a
away from the
tween
theater.
movie for yeah.
Once they get away from the theater, the two of them, it really kind of drags for me a
Well,
bit.
that's why it wraps up.
Um, which makes it to me seem a little bit longer as a runtime. It definitely feels like he's doing a little John Hughes homage at
Oh
points.
yeah.
There's definitely some John Hughes in there. Um, I definitely like the credit scene applying at the video store. That stuff's all fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he's made some other movies that I sure like a lot better than this one.
Oh yeah, but he's made some movies that I like less than this too.
I'd have to watch it again, and I think I'll probably end up watching it a couple more times.
I liked it more the second time, a lot.
Full disclosure to our listeners, Kevin Smith is probably near and dear to Marty's and I's hearts as a filmmaker. He's probably one of the ones that were up there. We've seen everything he's done. We've discussed his work over and over again. It's probably influenced our work more than
Mm-hmm.
it should at times. But so much love to Kevin Smith, and thank God he made movies. He showed a lot of people like us how to make a cheap movie, or not a cheap movie, but an inexpensive movie. How to get a movie made. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I liked that this one was personal. I liked parts of it. I didn't. It didn't. It's kind of like in Bruges. We got to a certain point, and it kind of started falling apart for me a little bit.
Have fun, don't run, is what he used to go to this water park when he was around that age, and that's what the guy would say when they took the ticket. So he managed to put that in his movie. It's like if you listen to a bunch of his podcasts and you know the stories of Jersey, and then you see the references in the movie, and it's like, oh, that's a deep cut for fucking super fans. Like the ticket taker who he has the little speech with at the end, and she says the thing about you just haven't made the movies yet, or whatever that line is. That's a line that his sister actually told him in real life.
Mm-hmm. Well, it definitely seemed like it was that scene in particular to me was like it came off, I don't know, a little heavy handed, because he doesn't really know that girl. How would she be able to,
That's what I thought the first time. Then watching it again, I realized that she pops up a little bit more than I thought. So
I did like that Martha Coolidge reference.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Right.
That's funny. We met Deborah Foreman, who worked in 2 Martha Coolidge movies. So that was kind of weird. But masturbating in public area is only fun for one person. Write that down, Marty.
Write that down. And then he goes up. Blink and you'll miss Ming Chen. He's in the movie very early in the Chinese restaurant, screaming at the girl to get off the phone.
No, that's funny.
I didn't see any of the other kind of like comic book men type people in the movie. It was mostly just your Viewist universe people. They even got Jason Lee in there briefly.
Yeah, wasn't he the dad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got him to do the Igor thing.
Got him to do the Igor thing, yeah.
Yeah, the second time it rang a lot better for me. I liked it the first time, but I was like, wait a minute, what? No, I was picking at it. And the second time, I just kind of let it wash over me. And I guess knowing that it wasn't going to have some dire ending or weird plot twist like the last 5 or 6 of his movies did, I could watch it going, no, this is going to have a happy ending. I can relax and watch this. And I just, and then I looked, I'm like, an hour 17? Damn, that's like party animal length. But yet it does feel longer than its length, I will say that.
Well, that's why I feel like it's while it's a short movie, hour 27, like you said, 10 minutes of credits, it doesn't feel like a full idea. It feels like there should have been maybe just a little bit more in there so that third act doesn't kind of die on you a little bit. I don't know.
I like that it kind of like
out of all of his Ernest movies, my favorite Ernest movie that he's done is the one like we talked about in the beginning is 3 types of movies that he's made. My favorite Ernest movie he's made is Zack and Mary, and my second would be Jersey Girl, and then I would put this one probably third because Tusk and Yoga Hosers and Red State Red State's a good movie, probably fourth, and then Tusk and Yoga Hosers are going to kind of fight it out at the bottom there.
Yeah.
Tusk probably over Yoga Hosers just for the weird kind of creativity of it, but
it's I like this movie. One more than those.
It's a good movie. It's just not. I think Zack and Mary is like his big swing.
Yeah,
like that's where he was like, I'm going to make a comedy that everybody can watch. I'm going to try to do like a ensemble. I'm going to do it like they say you should do a comedy. And when it didn't take off for him, I think it set him back into doing sort of all this reboot Jay and Silent Bob. So he's like, I'm gonna go back to doing the stuff I know will make some money and people will like.
Right.
Which is a damn shame because I think that's probably one of his better comedies.
Yeah, he was set up like an auteur for the longest time, and then he ended up becoming a cult director because of a couple of weird marketing missteps or whatever it was. I like this one more than Zack and Miri because that one's just a little too gross for me to throw on casually. It's a little too crude. I know it's supposed to be, but for my own sensibilities, I prefer this one a little more because it's a little lighter, even though it does have a few of his classic cruder elements in it.
I mean, sex poo.
I know, but it's not somebody actually getting pooped on. So, so there's degrees.
That's true. That's true. Very true.
But I still like that movie too, though. I'm just saying, like, if you have to put it on some sort of
I love it. I think
there.
I think he pulls something off with that movie. That movie's a tight wire act. And he pulls it off. That's why I like that movie. He's dealing with some some themes that you probably shouldn't, especially in a movie that you're trying to get to the public. And he does so in not only a very good way, but he ends up making it sort of endearing and heartwarming. This one didn't get me there as much with all that. I just didn't have the same emotional response. I did like all the 80s references. I did it, there were times where I was like, yeah, I did that at the movies. Yep. I did that. Yep. Snuck around. That type of thing. This is back when you just went to the movies, kids. Your mom just dropped you off or you got a ride and you were just, at the movies, at the mall, or at the movie theater, the 4-plex or the 8-plex all fucking day.
Right. Do you think the Fabelmans comparison the public has done is correct?
No.
I don't really think the movies are that similar.
I mean, other than the commonality being about 2 directors' use and maybe their initial love for film. But we don't really learn much about why he loves film or anything. We just know he loves film, right?
Yeah,
And we don't
it's not
really,
as deep as
we
that.
don't know that he's going to be a filmmaker. The chick,
Mhm.
the lady at the end tells him that
Yeah.
the woman working at think, oh, you're going to be a filmmaker, but there's nothing. He's not running around with a camera. He's not shooting anything. He's
Yeah.
not, you know.
I
So
relate to both movies, but I think I
there's some
relate more
commonalities, but
to the 430 because of our generation's closer, right? We weren't of the Spielberg generation where people had the film equipment laying around the house and we were doing that. We were more video camera. We went to the movies a lot because we didn't have the technology in our hands as much. So,
right. Yep, that's true. Yeah, I'd give it 3 stars.
yeah,
It's
I
not
give it
something I'm
three
gonna.
and a half just because it hits a little personal
Yeah,
for me there. Yeah,
it's not something I'm gonna throw on all the time. But
that's true.
if it gets put on, I'll be like, yeah, I'll watch it.
Hmm.
But it's if I'm going into his collection, I liked Clerk 3's quite a bit. I'd probably watch that over this, honestly.
Oh God,
Um,
I don't know if I could ever watch that again.
I think it was a really good movie. It was honest and it was well made.
Yeah, but I'm not watching Schindler's List for fun either. So it's just it's brutal. Hmm. I can live my life and have that. Next week, Clerks 3.
Right.
No, actually, next week is a guest. So you'll just have to tune in and see what that movie is. We already know what it is. We could even say, but I just feel like it's better to just not. You can look at our Letterboxd page and see it there anyway. So when we do another talking episode,
Oh fuck, where's that?
I am finally gonna dip into some of my complete blind picks here.
Oh really?
We've worked through so much stuff that it's like now it's time to watch some things that I haven't even seen. So if it sucks, sorry. We're gonna give it a shot. My movie for you next time is Fool's Paradise, starring Charlie Day. This is a fairly recent film. I don't know anything about it. I think it's a comedy.
I think I've seen that one. Okay. Fool's Paradise, eh? Okay, well, this director passed away recently. And I think this will be a good way to get into his catalog. You said Fool's Paradise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, we don't go into things through the front door and through the most popular film. We go into the side door and watch something weird. So you're going to watch The Straight Story, directed by David Lynch.
Hey, that's another one from my blind picks. No, I don't have to give it to you.
There we go.
I've
never seen it either, so it's a double blind pick.
Yeah, that movie's rated G, isn't it?
It is. It's the only rated G.
Rated. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I'm not mistaken, it's like his most normal movie he ever made. Like his most straightforward, straight movie he's ever made. So should be an interesting watch, especially as knowing David Lynch and what you expect from a Lynch film. I'm very excited about this one.
Hence the Straight Story.
Well, all right then. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
The Fool's Paradise and The Straight Story.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what those have in common.
I got something for your poor box.
Tell me about the rabbits, George. Oh, wait a minute.
All right, man. Till next time. Later.
Thanks.
Don't miss an episode. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, like us on YouTube, or give us a 5-star rating on the podcast app of your choice.